Hey everybody, welcome to the nightly vid. We're going to be doing the scan in live here. If you want just the watch list, you can skip to the end. That being said, let's go and take a look. Get up app.stralerts.com for you to SPY. SPY closes as a hammer day after a gap up on jobs numbers, so it'll be closer to 2-up momentum to trigger a 2-2 reversal week back to the highs. So if we're going to reverse, we'd have to take last month's lows, and we have not done that yet. Going to be closer to a 2-2 back up. Dow Jones closer to a 2-2 back up, same thing. Qs still hasn't made all-time highs, so this would be back through previous range, closer to a 2-2 back to the upside as well. And IDBM closer to a 1-2-2 Rev-Strat signal back to the upside as well. So closer to 2-2s back up next week across the board. And this tells us anything inside week is relatively strong, so we can start there. And we can go to the week, you go to inside, and go like so. We can actually first start at indexes to see who we got. So the materials sector is going to be relatively strong into the new week. Did close a little weaker. If we go into like a 2-day chart, you might have that 2-2 to start the week. So we will see still an inside month, inside quarter at this point, but we could negate. So we will see materials. And that tells us we can look there first. Materials sector, inside week. You'll see 22 setting up a simultaneous break for next week. For sake of time, we can go to ATR of 2 or more just to reduce that a little bit. I'm going to move this over here. So CE will have the inside bar momentum measured move on the week setting up to trigger 2-2 reversal pivot machine gun on the month here. Back through previous range. That's something we want to know about. And they are nowhere near making that high out, but we could get some nice continuity should that work. Go to EMN. Still back through previous range on the month, and it will be inside week for next week, and a little bit weaker, PPG. A little closer to an inside week down, and that's about it for the higher ATR names. So we're going to go to ATR of 1, and we're going to filter by direction to remove duplicates. CTVA closed a little stronger, but no daily signals to trigger that. If we go to DD DuPont, no daily signals to trigger that. Still closer to an inside back down. So kind of, some look good, some do not. I would say CE is probably the best looking one should things go higher. And then on the downside, if we look at DuPont, it is a pretty high volatility name. It's coming from quarterly exhaustion risk. So potentially that inside week down could cause some issues next week. OLN, also a decent looking one here for a 3-2 month back through previous range, which would trigger the quarter from the macro vid with the inside week to do it. So to start here, I would want to, we're going to remove this stuff, keep the macro, and we will get the weekend video going here. XLB, and then we will have CE, Momo, OLN, Momo, and then DD, actually not DD. All right. PPG. So the ideal scenario is like any of these breaking down, we want things that would take last month's lows. And anything breaking up, we'd want things that take last month or last quarter's highs, right? Because that's where we're going to be triggering people long or short. So when we look at like EMN or DuPont, they do look like potential good short signals, and you can't have them on your list. It's not anywhere near last month's lows, nor last quarter's or the previous week. So you're going to be trading some mother bar problems in here. Up to the trader. You got some dailies to trigger that. But that's about it in the materials sector. That being said, inside weeks in general will be relatively strong, so we can take a look and filter all the market. And we have about 87 inside weeks. For sake of time, I'm going to just filter by ATR. And that gives us about 39 inside weeks with no duplicates. So we're going to quickly run through the list. AMAT in the technologies would be closer to an inside month up. ASML in the tech closer to an inside up on the week, which maybe could trigger a month a little weaker. Things like AVGO also look pretty good in there. 2-2 week to trigger the quarter / reconfirm the month. If we go to booking, So inside week could cause expansion, but it's a $4,000 name. No, thank you. CMI, just momentum at the highs. Dash. Could trigger a 3-2 quarter with an inside week. That's something I'd like to know about. And if it fails, it turns into Rev-Strat back through an outside bar with this big, big range. So either way. And it's been a mover, as you can see. If we go to DHR Healthcares, closer to breaking lower, nowhere near a quarter. FFIV, still coming back to the previous range, inside week. On the quarter, it's just continuation. On the year, has a 2-2. Haven't traded it. GPN. That could be weaker to start the new quarter off. So it could be 3-2-2 month to trigger inside quarter down and confirm a Rev-Strat year in force. And I don't know if that's Groupon. No, it's Global Payment Networks. So they look like they might have some issues 3-1. We go to HLT. Hilton Worldwide, since we have MAR, which is Marriott, on the quarterly list, you're going to have LVS as well. Quarterly list, you're going to have Win as well on the quarterly list. So we could have the simultaneous break with HLT confirming that. So we can have that in here. Hershey's. So Hershey's is on the macro vid. It's going to be closer to 2-2, but we prefer it down. So even if it goes inside up, I'd prefer if we could get that inside bar and then the Rev-Strat back down. We'll see. But it does have the inside week for the macro, so we will get that on there as well. Industrials Hub, looking for 3-2 expansion at all-time highs. A little risky in there. IEX. Oof. Inside day pivot machine gun could trigger 3-1-2 week, which would trigger 2-2 month pivot machine gun. So IEX looks like they might have some issues as well. We'll put that on the bearish list. ITW Industrials. Oops. Kind of zoomed out here. And I'm just going to ignore it. If we go to JBL Technology, it'd be inside week momentum, trying to trigger a quarter, but prefer to stay away. You have this momentum measured move, so you could go after it above that stuff, but it's got to get out of here, right? 130. So it depends on the trader, what you're comfortable with. You go to quarter, what keys? This is technology, inside week to try and trigger a quarter. Still an inside year, so no thank you. McDonald's in the cyclical. Inside week at all-time highs after an outside quarter. So you could go after it this week, personally. I'm more interested if it starts coming back through that, but it would go expansion above last week's highs, trying to go 3-2 quarter in the cyclicals. MCK, nothing I'm too interested in. Momentum. MSI, bright green year goes inside week for a potential measured move. They're really gunning. MU in the technology. Inside week, inside quarter, inside month. NVIDIA, inside week to trigger the pivot machine gun month. So NVIDIA could blow out some of the highs in there. AC is a little interesting at exhaustion risk. Could go 3-month 2-2 reversal, which would call it from inside week 3-1-2 to trigger the inside month to trigger the quarter. So you got some pivot machine gun there in PC. Has been a lot higher. I'm not sure exactly what they do. Payment software. More industrials at the all-time highs. PH, PWR. So a lot of industrial simultaneous inside week momentum for next week from what I'm seeing here. ROK is going to be inside week as well, a little bit more stuck in the industrial sector. RL, Ralph Lauren, at all-time highs, so we're going to have to be aware of that exhaustion risk up in here, but very aggressive off the lows. Could go 3-2 Rev-Strat month off an inside week momentum, no daily signal. That's cyclicals. Oh, looks like Spot finished off its inside year up in there. Pretty nice. EMO. Could go into 2-2 month in the healthcare sector, nowhere near taking the quarter down, but it is a 3 last quarter, which gives you that quarterly broadening formation that you are reclaiming in here. What the heck is going on? So right to left, you get this with the inside week 312 to trigger that. And we know healthcares have been pretty weak, already going down, taking last month's lows. The TMO would reconfirm that for the bearish side of things. And that's going to reconfirm macro Humana, which is on the observations that we're seeing. We also have some monthly signals in there, which were not on the macro. If we go to the biotechs closer to Rev-Strat month down, it did go inside day, so we'll see if they firm up next week or not. But healthcares are already taking last month's lows, so we have a little more evidence on the downside to start. Technology, TYL, they're really going sideways in there. No thanks. Visa, inside week, inside month, a little stuck. WAT in the healthcares. See another outside month, and they're coming back through it, kind of like other healthcare names we're seeing. Williams Sonoma in the cyclicals. This one's been a really big gainer this year, and you got this nice broadening formation in here. So the Rev-Strat inside week momentum measured move, which would cause 3-2 back through previous range in Williams Sonoma. So we could get that in there, and what I'd say is like the most we're going to see is a lot of industrial inside weeks, a lot of tech inside weeks, and then some consumer cyclicals to go with them. As far as hammers go, and it's going to be a longer video, I know, and that's why I said you can skip to the end, but hammers, there's a lot of them in here, so we're going to have to get there in quick. So AMAT's inside week hammer, it's going to be relative strength in the chips to do inside month. We already knew about that. Seeing a few we've already talked about in the materials sector, blah, blah, blah. United Airlines could 3-2 the quarter. They have been going sideways for a long while in here, but eventually you got to get out of that. So, they might 3-2 the quarter, take these guys out. I'd prefer to see the Rev-Strat reclaim through all these guys. So you can set an alert on this. So I'm going to come back and set an alert again when it reclaims, or if it reclaims. But it's got momentum measured move on the week. UAL tells you DAL. Also similar type of look on the week. JetBlue, after their earnings, they really got going as well, but still grinding them up. And then AAL, it's going to have a slight hammer on the week. So some potential simultaneous breaks. Airlines, we'll see if we go to AI. This is something I'm pretty interested in. So AI, got a lot of losing traders in here to take out, these guys. So if we can't get this 2-2 week back through the range, it would trigger, or if we can, it would trigger the month above that. And if you do that, it's been a lot higher, right? So we might be going for the compound 3 like this, decent for the small account guys. And notice how this try got a lot bigger. So you have even more evidence it should do that if that works. So we can get AI on there. That's what I was looking at when we opened the stream. You got Amazon setting it up back through previous range. Boeing might get some PMG in there for the Dow Jones traders. just kind of hitting the ones that I know about. So Goldman Sachs is going to be on the Rev-Strat list. For sake of time in here, I'm just going to skip through and see. So we got semis hammer week, SPY hammer week, obviously with the Qs, Dow Jones, and IBM. And then tech is also hammer week. So all those are setting up the same, which means we're just going to hit the scans and we'll trade really the tech names we're normally trading, which is like NVIDIA, AVGO, AMD, that type of stuff, just to simplify this down. And then we'll add AI onto the tech list since that looks pretty solid from my studies before we started this up in here. And then on the bearish side of things, got a lot of healthcare names. MCK, we already saw. SNA in the industrials, already saw that. WAT, already saw in the healthcares. AbbVie, Shooter in the healthcares. AZN, Shooter in the healthcares at last quarter's lows for the Shooter 2-2. So AZN could have some issues later this quarter. We'll see. MTD in the healthcares as well. So healthcare's weak still, and then tech and everything else trying to recover as far as we are seeing so far. That being said, I want to take a look at the Rev-Strats to get some of those good ones, you know. Let's see. So we already saw Goldman Sachs will be a Rev-Strat to trigger its monthly, and this is from the macro. So it's confirming the yearly macro from the beginning of the year. And if you weren't there, you should go and look at that macro because a lot of everything we said just rallying. I don't think we missed on really any of the macro analysis this year. But you're going to see 33% so far. So the long green bars plus the PMG on the week to go and make all-time highs. So I wonder what those 5-10 calls are trading at for the end of the week. Those could be really good. Go for those weeklies. If we go to, oops, did not get the Rev-Strat in here. He looks like more financial services that are going to have some Rev-Strats. Been a lot higher before, and you got this broadened information they might try and expand out of. If we go to on in the cyclicals, see it's already also been a pretty good one this year. The 2-1-2 reversal, so you still got, you know, about $4 to go after. Not the biggest stuff in the world, but the 1-2-2 week to do that. If we go to SCHW financials, 3-1-1 month could be triggered by Rev-Strat week pivot machine gun. And TROW financials, Rev-Strat week, which could trigger inside month. So it looks like you got a lot of industrials, or not industrials, financials setting up with the Rev-Strats simultaneously. And then XLF did go 2 up last week, so a little stronger than the rest of the market as they went 2 down. Regional banks did go 2 down, though. So GS, really the most solid one in there I'd want to know about. Maybe JP Morgan, throw it in. And then we also are always watching Morgan Stanley, which already gunning. But so financials, Rev-Strats on the upside, on the downside of things, you got, let's see, what, utilities, EXC. So this could be a problem. All utilities taking out all-time highs, and these are not in here. So you got this nice try EXC pivot machine gun with the change in month and quarter continuity after going outside last quarter. So we'll add that to the Rev-Strat downside list. And then NEE as well, which has been a little bit stronger, but still not at all-time highs. Only thing is like, you know, how's that going to happen, right? EXC, at least you're reclaiming that outside bar, and it's been much weaker than the rest, as you can see. So it would be a little better for something like a Lotto back through these guys. Outside of that, there's not too much else I want to cover. So here's your list as far as what we're looking for. And you can kind of see how we go through that, starting with the sectors and the indexes. And then the other thing I wanted to cover is we want to see this continuation in energies. We talked about it in the macro vid. Or not macro vid, the strat attack vid, and I meant to have it on the macro, but it was my fault. I did not. But you're gonna see things like XOM going for the expansion simultaneously, 2-2 month, XLE 2-2 month, XOM 2-2 month, or not XOM, XOP 2-2 month back through previous range. So you got like a lot of distance to go still. You got $21, and I can tell you right now, those 150 calls probably are not pricing that in. I've got an OIH. That's a 2-2 month, and this one's like the favorite looking one. Here's your sideways, and then boom, reclaim above this, trying to cause losing traders here. And same thing, it's got a lot of room to go. I bet you those 320 calls are probably not pricing that in, even if you go a month out. So OIH, this could be a really good one as well. That tells us the strongest energies. We can look and see who is in force to start. So if you go on the quarter, you just go in force in the energy sector. Since we picked up on that literally right when the quarter opened, if you follow me on Twitter, we pointed all that out. But in force quarter, it's XOM. If we go in force on the month, that's a simultaneous break, right? And that's all the big names we like to know about. So we have LNG on the month, 312, which gives it relative strength. It is going into exhaustion risk, so we'll be aware of that. BKR, 122 Rev-Strat month, still has some distance to go. CTRA. Look at this. This is what we're looking for. The 2-2 hammer reversal back through previous range. If you're a small account guy, that's where you want to be, right? Because you've still got 14% to go, and you can trade shares on this, and you can make a pretty penny. You go CVX, 2-2 hammer month. We like this too. Why? Well, you're going to see the sideways, the poke down and reclaim 2-2 reversal. I want to know about that, right? And then how do you do enter that? Go and watch the video I'd put out called How to Time the Market. The one thing we want to know is we don't want to just buy these into new highs. We want to let them triangle lay out. So you can see on a daily basis, you're buying new highs. We don't want to do that. What we want to see is we want to see them bring them back in and then give us signals back through the range to cause expansion here. If we go to EOG, nice, right? 2-2 month, and then PMG through these guys to 139.29. You still got some room to go, and then maybe even these guys for 10%. Bang. 2-2 month, not a kicking pattern, but looks like it, right? You're going to see still has a good distance to go, about 10%. Actually, a little more than that. HAL. This is also one you'd want to know about. We like these really big levels of reclaim. Slight lower low, 2-2. Where are you going? Up there. If we go to Hess, 2-2 month, also a good one for the guys in here. You want to know about that. You got to all-time highs, about 19% to go. Hess. Oh, we already talked about that. MRO. Good for the small account guys and girls. I imagine you guys all remember, and we mentioned this one for the small accounters, and you probably did pretty solid on that if you guys are paying attention. But 2-2 month to try and expand this range. It did make the slight higher low in here, but it's a phenomenon. So you poke up, poke down, poke up, and then try and get out of here. If we go to Slob, another good one for the small account guys and gals. Look at that. You got some good distance to cover there. And then XOM we already know about being the strongest one. So really we want to go after all of those things. You could look at weekly signals to confirm that, of which there really wasn't that many as we saw in the lists. It was never mentioned. But in order to get that list here, for sake of time, I wonder how good this thing is. Let's see. See if they can't do it for me. There it is. That's very useful. It's like what they got on the iPhone now, right? That being said, though, we can put all this stuff in here, and these are going to be all the energy names we want to see continue. So when we're looking at the macro, it can be added to this, and I know we didn't talk too much about the macro. Just go watch the video. If you go to China names, you look at Futu, did we talk about the 3-2 quarter? We did, right? So 24%er, right? And this is what we mean when you say you didn't miss it, right? If it's still not up there, you didn't miss it. You still got room to go. So all the China names still a buy. You got 60% more to go. And from the Strat Attack video we put out on Tuesday, the 24th, calling out all the Chinas as a buy. Futu, the strongest gainer, up 80%. So hopefully you guys have been following along, and we will see if we get some good triangle outs in there to keep going after it, as they have a lot of room to go. So hopefully you guys had a great weekend. I will see you guys as we start up the new week. Adios, and have a great rest of your Sunday night.